I think it's a giant win-win-win, because this is what happens. When you run an ad, you're taking people away from you to somebody else. When you run an ad for yourself, it might not pay right away, but you're keeping people in the community. Podcast growth people, welcome back to Podcast Growth University, where we focus on helping you get your podcast to the next level. I hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 7. Should you be recording video too? If you missed that, make sure you go back and check it out for all of the specifics. But the short answer is yes, for many reasons, especially for the back end on social media. I believe I said I was going to do an episode on why you should treat your podcast like a business, but I have been doing a lot of podcast breakthrough sessions, and the number one question I get asked most often, and I think is probably one of the reasons you tune in to learn more about podcasts, is this simple but impactful, profound question: can you actually make money with a podcast? So that is what we are going to be talking about today, and you got to understand, just because most people don't do something doesn't mean you can do something. So if I was to estimate how many shows actually made, I don't want to say life-changing money, but a significant amount of money, it is a very, 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 very small percentage. You got to think, out of the, at this point, probably 3 million podcasts that are out there, I think at least 50% of them are no longer in production. Some stats go up as high as 75% that are no longer in production. So you got to imagine, okay, if there's 500,000 podcasts out there, how many of them are actually making real money? I would venture to guess it's less than 1%. It's probably a very, very small number. And I've known very, very successful podcasters who are not making much money at all, even though they have millions and millions of views. So it all depends on where you are in the journey. But that is my goal in this episode, is to talk about monetization. That is the question I get asked most often. How did you do it? How do you suggest I do it? What am I missing? Can I actually do it? What are the best ways? So we will talk about that today. So this whole monetization thing started for my business partner, Alan, and I, when we were probably 1.5 years or 2 years into our journey. And at that point we had, maybe 100 episodes, and we had no money. We were not making any money. We had both left our jobs, and we both went all into this podcasting thing. And Alan and I had a conversation one day, and I said, I have to find a way to start making money. I'm $35,000 in credit card debt. I don't have any income. I don't know how we're going to make money. What do we do? And he said, well, we should start coaching. We have a podcast about self-improvement that is valuable, but if we're going to add more value into somebody's life, it's going to require us to work one-on-one with them. That way we can actually talk about the stuff that they're going through. And I said, okay, I don't know how to do that. I've never coached before. Am I qualified? I have imposter syndrome. What am I supposed to do? So this is what we did. I went on social media and I thought to myself, okay, who would be a really good potential client who I could start coaching for free? And I landed on a young lady named Jenna. And Jenna was somebody who had been listening to our podcast for a long time. She had reached out. She had shared our stuff. She was a member of the family. She was a member of the podcast family. So I reached out and I said, hey, Jenna, I'm interested in starting some coaching. I've never done it before. So here's the thing. It's totally free. We'll hop on the phone every week for an hour, and my goal will be to help you become more hyper-conscious. That was the name of our podcast at the time, the Hyper-Conscious Podcast. And she said, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that. So I coached Jenna every week for, I believe, 2 months. So probably like 6 to 8 coaching calls completely for free. And as I started doing that with different people, I think I had 4 clients or 5 clients for free. And as I started to expand my schedule and my schedule got more full and more full, I sent Jenna a message and I said, Jenna, I love doing this. Unfortunately, I can't do it for free anymore. What do you think about $50 a week? And she said, yeah, that's fine. It's valuable. It's worth it. I'm willing to pay $50 a week. 50 went to 75, 75 went to 100. And then that's how we started monetizing. So Alan would have 10 clients, I would have 5 clients, and then there you go. That's how we started making money with our podcast. So my frame, and what I always try to tell people, especially if you're in a podcast where your main goal is helping people with something specific. So it's hard, right? Because if you have a podcast about sports, you don't necessarily have a coaching service that people are going to pay for. It doesn't really work that way, because what is valuable enough when it comes to sports to get people to pay for it? If you have a sports show about betting and you do one-on-one betting coaching, yes, somebody will pay for that. But if you're just talking about the NFL, the NBA, whatever it is, the WNBA, if you're just talking about a given organization or a sport, the best way for you to monetize is going to be completely different. So let me walk through the monetization points. Number one, advertisements. The numbers are changing because it's getting easier and easier to advertise and through sponsorships and all that. When I first started this journey, the number was anywhere from $25 to $50 per 1,000 downloads. That was what you were given. And that was for you running either I think it was a 30-second pre-roll ad. So at the very beginning of your podcast, it would be, hey, today's episode is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. It's blah, 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 blah. And if you use the link in my show notes, you'll get 30% off, whatever it is. But imagine if you only have, say you're getting 1,000 downloads a month, you're only going to get $25 to $50 per month. And that's just not a lot of money. So for most people, that isn't really a sustainable route. Ads and sponsorships for the vast majority of podcasts are not that good of a route. And here's why, especially if you're a service-based podcast. I would rather you advertise yourself. Now, again, if you're talking about something that you cannot connect directly to money through one-on-one conversation, sure, you can run ads, you can get sponsorships. You can also do something, you can do affiliate marketing, which is similar to sponsorships and ads, but you would just advertise somebody's product and you would get 15% of, whatever they sell, or 10% of whatever they sell. Again, these are all relying on pretty large numbers, larger numbers, because you got to think, if you're only making $50 a month, it's going to be very hard for that to help you survive. It's not going to be able to be your main thing. But this is my frame. And I'll give you a very, very impactful thing that has helped us and it's helped a bunch of clients. If you are a coach, what I always suggest is this. Number one, reverse engineer the main problems that your clientele is dealing with. And your clientele theoretically should be your community, right? Your community are the people that you can help at a deeper level. What are the main problems that they're going through? Awesome. Write those down. How can you help them solve those problems? Awesome. Write them down. Those are what you do episodes on. Then at the end of the episode, if you said this, and imagine this, so say you talked about imposter syndrome. If you're really struggling with imposter syndrome and you want some extra support and maybe some extra awareness and some lessons and experiences from somebody who has already dealt with that and gotten through it, please reach out via the link in my show notes, and it's a totally free call. Free 30-minute call, no strings attached. That's how I would start monetizing if I was you. And I've seen this happen with clients. I had a client who came to me and said, hey, I need to start making money with my podcast. And I said, okay, cool. Have you ever coached before? And she said, no, I've never coached, but it's always been something I'm interested in. I said, okay, awesome. We have to make sure that you're capable of coaching. You only have to be a few steps ahead of the listeners. You don't have to know everything. You just have to be able to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. I said, does that resonate with you? Do you feel like you can do that? And this person said, yes. I said, okay, cool. I want you to start talking about free coaching. And I want you to start building relationships with people on social media. And that's I'll do an episode on that, like a full dive episode on that. But this is my thought process. I just signed up for a 7-day free trial for HBO Max or something on YouTube TV. Do you know why they do that? Because in the first 7 days, you find value and then you're okay with paying with it because you've already rented it. You've already experienced the value. You're less likely to get rid of it. So imagine if somebody jumps on a free call with you and you add value to them. And this happens to me all the time. I will say this at the end of the episode, and I mean this. Reach out if you want a free 30-minute call. I'm not going to try to sell you on anything. That's not my goal. My goal is to add as much value as humanly possible in that 30 minutes. Some people, I get to the end of that free call and they say, Kev, talk to me about what it takes to work with you. How much is this? How much is this? How much is this? Other people say, thank you so much. That was so helpful. I'll reach out to you in the future. Other people say, thank you so much. That was so helpful. I'm going to use all this stuff. That's kind of the point, is when you add value, people want more value. So that is the power of the free call. I have another hack. This is a very, very impactful one that has helped a lot of people.
Hey Kevin, Kim here. Just wanted to send you a video to say thank you so much for your help on creating the Peaceful Productivity Podcast. You know, I couldn't have done it without you. I knew you'd be lots of great help with the technical aspects of getting the podcast going, but you went well above and beyond that. You helped me with the strategy and you gave me all kinds of really great support. You know, I think the key to success in business is a great attitude, and you have that in spades. You really walk the walk. So thanks again. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. If you are a coach, this is what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to one of the clients who you've either been working with the longest, you've helped the most, the person who has the best things to say about you, and ask them nicely, hey, blank, would you mind sending me a video testimonial of your experience with me? Anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds is all I need. I'd like to run it as a mid-tro on my podcast. Okay? This is what you do. You take that testimonial and you put it in the middle of your podcast on the audio and the video version on YouTube. This is what it's doing. You saying you're a good coach is awesome. Somebody else explaining the experience of working with you is completely different. And it's not you asking, it's other people asking for you. That right there has helped a bunch of my clients at least raise the odds of them getting clients. It won't happen overnight. I mean, sometimes it will. In one of the examples, that young lady who asked me how we could make money, she got 3 clients in like 3 weeks. Now, that's not always typical. It doesn't always work that way. But it was free. And then it was, you coach them, add value, add value, add value. And then when you feel like you've added value and you feel like you're worthy of charging money, then we can start talking about that process. For most people, I believe coaching will be the best bang for your buck, because instead of getting $20 to $50 a month or $20 to $50 per 1,000 downloads, you're getting X amount per hour. So think of it that way. If you start coaching and you're making $50 an hour versus $50 a week or $50 a month or however many downloads you're getting, you can do 5 of those calls a week. You could do 1 a day and you'd make $250 a week. And that'd be $1,000 a month. Now, it's hard to get that many clients. It takes time for sure. But if you are a podcaster who is focused on adding value through self-improvement, business, whatever it may be, I have not seen any way better than that to make money. There's a lot of people who claim they've made money with podcasts, and you never know. It's hard. Even with me, like, I could be lying about all this. I'm not, I assure you, but I understand that there's a lot of people who do say that, and they do throw numbers out there that aren't necessarily real. I am happy to take you behind the scenes. I'm happy to show you the numbers, our downloads, all that happy jazz. We have nothing to hide, but I think this is the best thing for you, especially if you're a coach. People ask me all the time, how do you guys monetize? It's through coaching. It's through one-on-one coaching. It's through podcast coaching. It's through our podcast, Next Level Podcast Solutions service. That's how we monetize. And I think it's a giant win-win-win, because this is what happens. When you run an ad, you're taking people away from you to somebody else. When you run an ad for yourself, it might not pay right away, but you're keeping people in the community. When you coach people, they're more likely to listen to your podcast. They're more likely to like your content on social media. They're more likely to give you referrals for clients. They're more likely to spread the word of mouth about your podcast. So coaching is not only a great way to make money, it's a great way to grow your show, because you're building real, deep, organic relationships with your ideal clients, with your community. From my experience, it's the best way. It's the best way to make money. Now, this is what I'll tell you. What's happening now is podcast hosts, Buzzsprout is an example right now. I see that they're doing this. They are making it easy for you to click a button and they will run ads for you. But I'm pretty sure it's like 12 cents per listen or something. I don't remember what it is, but it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. So just for context, we had 22,000 downloads last month. So if you think 22,000, I mean, what's that, $200 or something? It's not going to be a lot of money. So it's an option, but that's way more supplemental than anything else. You can always have a Patreon where you have behind the scenes content. You can always have any of the donation things like buy me a coffee or something like that. You can always have that. But I believe the best way is coaching. And that is what I always talk about. That's what I always teach because that's what we've used. That's really what we've used. Will it be easy? No. It'll take time. I always suggest you do free calls. There's a lot of coaches and business coaches and entrepreneurs who say, don't do that. It devalues you. I don't believe that. I just think that's an ego thing more than anything. If you add value, people will ask how they can get more value, right? We're on pace to do $400,000, $400,000 to $500,000, depending on a couple big deals this year. And Alan and I still both do free calls. And it's one of the best things we do because you get to know people. You might not end up working with them. That's okay. You're going to learn about what people are going through, and people really appreciate you adding value for free with no strings attached. They really appreciate you being a person of your word and saying, look, it's not a sales call. It's literally a free coaching call. That's what it is. The podcast breakthrough session is 30 minutes of me going through your podcasts, asking about this, asking about your artwork, asking about your microphone, asking about all the YouTube, asking about the other directories you're on, asking how you're making money. If you're not making all that, how are you formulating your episodes? That is the beauty of a free call. People can test drive the car before they purchase it. So I would really, really, really heavily suggest that you practice that and try it. Will it work for you? I can't guarantee it will. I can guarantee it won't work if you don't try, but that's what's helped us. And I really feel like leaning into that for you would be valuable. And worst comes to worst, it's going to help you build your community. And I'll say this too before we hop off here. I got another meeting in 10 minutes. You making money with your podcast is possible, but it's going to require a different level of commitment than somebody who's just podcasting for fun. It's very hard to accidentally make money. I'll put it that way. I know somebody who had over 10 million downloads on their podcast, and they were making, I think it was $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good amount of money. But we were making 3 or 4 times what that person was making, and we had a 25th of the downloads, like a quarter of the downloads. No, not even. Way less than that. Way less than that. I think we had 400,000 downloads at the time, and this person had 10 million, right? So it all depends on what you're trying to do. How into the podcast are you? How tapped into it are you? How much work are you doing on the podcast? Or are you just recording an episode, putting it out there and hoping this is all going to happen? This is the real, our brand is heart-driven but no BS, right? Next Level You is heart-driven but no BS. And I'm going to be the same way here. The heart-driven side of me is you can definitely make money with the podcast. The no BS side of me is it's not going to be what many, many, many people are telling you. Like, you're not going to launch a show and it's not going to be a top 100 show right off the bat, most likely. That's rare. It doesn't happen that often. And anybody who guaranteeing that is probably not going to be able to do it. It's not as easy as it sounds. Same with making money, same with making 6 figures in a podcast. It's all a challenge, but you can do it if you're really consistent, you're really committed, and you raise your awareness and you try new things and you do it for long enough. That's the other thing too. You can decide this year, it's August, I'm recording this in August. You can say, you know what? I want to make money within the next 6 months. Cool, right? That can happen. I cannot guarantee it'll happen this week, the next 2 weeks, the next 3 weeks, the next month. It takes time. It takes time. I've had clients who I did a free call with, and they reached out to me like 2 years later and said, hey, I think now's the time. I need your help. Or, hey, I think now's the time. I'm ready to level up, or I'm ready to do this, or whatever it may be. I'm ready to work with you. That was 2 years later. But the thought process is the same. I added value, and when they were ready, they came back. So you have to understand the long game of this as well. It's not a short game. It's a long game. And the longer you do it, the more things start to connect. That's what I would say. So in closing, you can make money with a podcast. You can actually make money with a podcast. There are ways, several ways to do it. I believe the number one way is through coaching, especially if you're in a podcast where you're trying to help people with health, with wealth, with love, with taxes, with betting, with whatever, productivity, focus, meditation, yoga, whatever it is. That is the best way to do it, because you're already doing that with the podcast. You're doing that on your social media. You're doing that with all your freebies. And then you're doing that at the very bottom of your business as well. So that is what I would say. I have to go because I have another interview shortly here. I am not certain what I'm going to do on our next episode, and that's a no-no. That is a big no-no. You're supposed to say, I hope you enjoyed our latest episode, blank. And then at the end, you're supposed to say, please tune in for our next episode. Let me see. For the next episode, for episode number 9, I'm going to do why you should treat it like a business. Why you should treat your podcast like a business. I will do that for the next episode because that is something I talk about often, and I think it connects very well with episode number 8. As always, I will have my show, my calendar invite or my calendar link in the show notes. If you want a free 30-minute call, like I said, I'm just going to go through your podcast and try to figure out where you're holding yourself back and what I can do to raise your awareness. I'm not going to sell you on anything. You can ask me about pricing. You don't have to ask me about anything. Totally fine. My goal is to add as much value to you as humanly possible. That will be in the show notes. And if you find this content valuable, if you would kindly leave a review, I would appreciate it very much. No pressure, no stress if you don't. It just helps other people see, you know what, this podcast is valuable, and I will tune in because I looked at the reviews and they were positive. As always, thank you, podcast people. Keep on podcasting, keep on getting to the next level, and I will talk to you for episode number 9.